And just like that, we are back with chapter 40 of the universe according to Mugsy. I am Mugsy the creator. Hey, how are ya? How's everybody doing out there? Today is July 15th, 2024, and it's about noon on a Monday. Nothing particular big going on, so I guess we could just start with I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know what you guys are here for. You guys, you want to hear me rant and rave and explain exactly what's going on with the Donald Trump assassination. Okay, guys, we'll get into it. We'll start off with that. What else are we going to get into today? We're also going to talk a parking ticket, which I really do want to get into, and the Eric Weinstein, Terrence Howard discussion on the Joe Rogan experience. We're also going to cover that. So this is going to be an interesting one, guys. Let's get into it. Let's get it. It's hot. Oh my God. It is. It's hot today, and it's going to be even hotter tomorrow. I don't know why I didn't take my shirt off before we started this. The garage is not air conditioning for those of you listening, not watching on YouTube. But Donald Trump. Okay, guys. Oh, you guys are so funny. You guys are so funny. I was talking to one of my listeners yesterday, and they just don't seem to have fully grasped everything we have been talking about. Come on now. Okay, I predicted this, right? Some random kid from the internet, 6 months into being a podcaster, predicted that there was going to be somebody who took an attempt on Donald Trump's life. Is that particularly unique? I don't think so. Tucker Carlson was saying it 6 months ago. I mean, anybody with a brain has been talking about it. The man is being persecuted from all angles conceivably. And the media ran with the story, which was the assassination of Donald Trump. The way that CNN chose to report it initially was another narrative that was run throughout the legacy media. And I haven't particularly dug into any of this yet because it hasn't unfolded. Okay, guys, let's start this off by explaining a magic trick. All right. What else do you call turning the entire tide for towards Donald Trump? You know, it's a magic trick. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we got the cover of the Times or the Newsweek or the New York Post. And this is going to be the picture that is remembered of this moment in time where Donald Trump captured the narrative completely, right? He overtook any doubt that was in anybody's mind from any particular group that was unsure to support him. It's all over now, baby. It's all in the bag. Now, how did that happen? What happens when a magic trick is performed? Only the audience reacts, right? That's why Patrick Bet David, a good friend of mine, did an emergency broadcast because he was unsure of what was happening. He reacted to news because he didn't know that that was already coming. He didn't have a plan for that. He hadn't thought about it. And what do we know today? Like I said, I've investigated this barely. I've spent almost no time on this. And there was incredible lapses in Secret Service security. I mean, incomprehensible if you were to understand the way that the average individual thinks about the way that the president is protected. This is inconceivable to us. I know nothing about all that, but I know that if there's one guy you should be protected, or two, or three, it's the people running for president of the United States, especially former presidents. Come on now. Come on now. So what are we doing? Then there was a ladder, right? So there was a ladder found out, discovered onto this rooftop where there's only a few roofs that have a vantage point towards former president of the United States who's giving a campaign speech. Allegedly, right? This is all alleged. Nothing's been proven yet. And there's already been footage revealed of private citizens pointing out that there is somebody on the roof with a rifle. It would appear that the Secret Service waited until shots were fired before taking out said gunman. It would also appear that a bullet whizzed past Donald Trump's head, and had he not turned his head at the last moment, the bullet would have taken him out or hit him in the head, and instead it clipped his ear. There's photographs of a bullet flying by his head. Interesting stuff, guys. That's what magic is. It's interesting. It's Hollywood. That's how they make you believe that 2 planes took out 3 towers. Oh, guys. Have you not been listening to anything I've been saying for the last 6 months? This is chapter 40, guys. This is chapter 40. It is always the same thing. Little misdirect. Now, all of a sudden, the narrative's flipped. What has changed? Almost nothing. There are still very many people who would like to see one of the former presidents of the United States dead. There's another group of people who would like to see the other current president of the United States dead. What does that mean? It's almost as if the energy is being stirred up in this country for a reason. Oh, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So chapter 40 today here, July 15th, 2024. I will be the first to tell you I do not know exactly what happened. I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical of everything that I see, as you always should be. But the deep state doesn't miss. Ever. And Donald Trump, I don't know if he's that lucky. I don't know if he's that lucky. What else do we know? I told you they would make an attempt on his life. I called it, just like everybody else, just like Tucker Carlson, just like anybody who has their finger on the pulse of what's going on. Read the room. What options are left? Now, immediately, the narrative is lone gunman, right? Working alone, couldn't get in his cell phone, but we know that it's alone. He's working alone. We haven't seen his text messages. We don't know if he's called anybody, but we are going to say definitively that he was working alone. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm a dummy, and you can't fool me with this shit. We already know that the alleged shooter was in a BlackRock commercial as a child. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of MK Ultra, but I think you should spend some time investigating that, because secret classified operations, no matter when they're revealed, are still important because they indicate where secret operations could currently be taking place. All right, so MK Ultra is this mind control, make people go nuts so that they commit crimes and have no memory of it type thing. Is that possible? I don't even know. I don't know how you would prove or disprove it, you know? I think that's probably why those techniques are utilized. But I am not educated enough to understand it completely. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. But it's got me curious. It's got me curious because the one thing I am 100% sure of is that whatever they're saying in the news today is wrong. That's not the truth. The truth will be revealed after many layers of the story shed itself. We need to see the incentives. We need to see how the next chips fall before we start to understand who was planning it, because it was planned. That's the bottom line, right? Somebody planned it. Even if it was just a random person on a random day. They woke up and they said, I'm going to go do it. They came up with a plan. You can be damn sure. Things don't happen randomly. No matter how much people want you to believe that everything in your life is a complete random happenstance, it's all for a reason. It's all the universe working in these mysterious ways. Electromagnetism being pulled towards certain things based on what you've surrounded yourself with in your own life. That's how this all works. And I break it down for you in current events, culture, and consciousness, which we're going to talk about all three. And this is the current events. All right. Somebody allegedly tried to shoot a former president of the United States. Some crazy shit. Crazy. It's crazy that guy's also running for president. It's crazy that we have been continually warned by certain members of the military industrial complex that you should be scared to trifle with the CIA because they have 7 ways from Sunday to get you. As said by, was it Adam Schiff? I believe it was Adam Schiff. But it certainly seems like that has something to do with it, you know? Unless, of course, you believe it was all according to the plan of Donald Trump. I don't know. I don't know yet. But there are a lot of people looking through a lens right now of Donald Trump as a savior for this country. I believe that is a mistake. He may be. He may be the best president of the United States, but we need someone who's willing to change the systems and someone who's benefited so much off of the systems that are in place, even though it would appear now like everyone is out to get him. Watch how this narrative flips. Watch how these court cases, like the presidential documents case, which was just released. I told you what time it was. It's 12:30. What time is it right this moment? 12:47. We've already been talking for 20 minutes. I don't have foreknowledge of what's about to happen, but I do have foreknowledge of what's about to happen because these are patterns. Billionaires already jumped ship on Biden. What is nobody talking about right now? Nobody's talking about the presidential debate. What else is nobody talking about? Nobody else is talking about all the wars that are going on. Nobody else is talking about inflation, right? The economy that's crushing America. Everything's a distraction in Hollywood, and Hollywood is the United States of America. It's not LA. Don't let anybody mistake you. It is the United States of America. Everything you see is a shadow. It's an illusion. It's a magic trick where only the people that are in on the trick know exactly what's going on. You can find those people by the people that don't react, right? That's why I'm not losing my mind here today. That's why I didn't lose my mind on Twitter or Instagram or any of those other social media apps that I'm trying to find people to. I get the worst followers because they haven't started yet. It's just, we're making so much progress. We're crushing it, every day. But still, nothing. Nothing. We will find you, people. And I don't know how, but I know it's coming, right? It's the gnosis. It's the knowing. I don't know how you guys don't get this shit yet. I've been explaining it for 40 chapters already. 1 through 36 should have proved to you that I was becoming this. Now we're at 40. I'm 3 more into it. I'm so much better than even I was 2 weeks ago. Oh my God. Oh my God. Donald Trump, did we hit it all? I'm right. Tucker's right. Glenn Greenwald's right. What happened? Nobody knows. Magic, MK Ultra, AI was another one. I am 100% certain that AI is going to be used in this election, and I have no idea how. Scary, right? Because I predict the future a lot, and I'm correct a lot. And if you haven't tried to, well, I know that AI is going to be used in the future. So tell me how you think AI is going to be used. Could it have been used in any way on that Donald Trump thing? I have no clue. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Could this whole thing have been a farce that was filmed in a movie studio? I don't know. How did all of the uh, journalists on the scene seemingly get it right? Because, all right, besides the fact that the Secret Service agents looked like it was their first day on the job, there were a lot of female Secret Service agents that didn't know how to holster their weapons properly. And Jimmy Dore made a comment. Oh, it was so funny. If you watch that video of the woman going to the car trying to holster a gun, she doesn't know how to get it in the holster with her left hand. And Jimmy goes, it's like she said, all right, fuck it. And then she's like, all right, no, I'm just going to keep it in my right hand. I'll just hold it over here. This is not a military operation. That's not how the Secret Service normally operates, okay? And Candace Owens pointed this out almost immediately as well. If you're a novice to this politics shit, do not get swept up in all of the excitement just because you think you saw something in the land of Hollywood. What I'm saying is there are many different games at foot. You think it's baseball and you think we're in the third inning and there are 2 outs and there's a runner on first. Really, we're surfing in space on a fucking rainbow. All right. We are as far from playing baseball as you could possibly imagine for most people out there. And the people that get it, I already understand that what I'm saying is the absolute truth. There are so many different things entangled together right now. So that was enough. That was enough. Get your mind out of the gutter in terms of allowing this to form any of the ways that you see the world and the perspectives that you take. Wait a minute. Listen to Mugsy the creator. Tune into the universe according to Mugsy and open your mind to the other possibilities that may be right in front of you. What else? What else? That was great. I also wanted to talk about the Joe Rogan experience. Speaking of opening your mind, my friend close-minded Joe Rogan had Eric Weinstein and Terrence Howard on the podcast. We talked about it briefly. It was a 4-hour discussion between two brilliant individuals, to say the least. And I think it's worthy of talking about it because you will start to notice changes now, especially if you're clued into what's happening, which is what I'm trying to do for you right now. These conversations are going to be regarding the structure of our society and how it works, and they will be challenging some of the long-held fundamental beliefs of a lot of the people in society today. We have been taught to think in certain contexts, in certain patterns that may not be the best patterns for society moving forward. So in order for those patterns, new patterns to emerge, there will be some conflict in the old patterns ending. I hope that makes sense, and I hope it doesn't seem too esoteric or too Gnostic or too... I'm going to explain it. So Eric Weinstein is a polymath, which means he understands this. He has become brilliant in at least one discipline of math. And then he has also become brilliant in several others. That's the poly and the math. All right. So it's interdisciplinary brilliance. Terrence Howard is a self-taught poly something. We don't know what to call that poly yet because he's a poly podcast researcher, actor, which is the new paradigm. Literally the old paradigm and the new paradigm went head to head on the Joe Rogan Experience. And it was fascinating to any of those who understood what was happening. So both men are brilliant. I am not brilliant enough to delineate between the two. Now, Mr. Weinstein and Mr. Howard will both tell you that they are smart enough to delineate exactly who is, smart enough to understand these things. But regardless, they represent a past and a future that we are headed towards and constantly in, all at the same time. This discussion that they were having was about the fundamental way that we understand science, the periodic table of elements, and mathematics, and their intersection with physics. This is fascinating to me because to me, they're describing the 3D matrix world in mathematics, and in Terrence's mind, this physics that he is pseudo-created. Now, what's the best way to go into this? All right. Terrence Howard is obviously, even by the manner in which he speaks, self-taught. Now, I call this the podcast education because that's how I did it. I listened to conversations until I could understand what was happening. And once I understood what was happening, there is no stopping you. And your imagination is as wild as it gets because there's no barrier to information when you understand who's telling the truth. Okay. And Terrence Howard clued into that. And he picked up on some 150-year-old works that appear to be times where there was a decision made in science to go in a particular direction, and that may not have been the best direction for society to go in. Obviously, that's an opinion. What Howard is trying to illustrate and point out in all of the things that he's observing is that we're missing something here. There is a key to this equation of understanding reality that we don't have our finger on yet. And he's saying, I think I got my finger on it. And that's interesting because maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. He has patented a lot of information, but patents are a horrible way to go about understanding things. It closes your mind off to doing everything for free. If you wouldn't do it for free and give it away for free, then why would you charge somebody for it? You don't love it yet. You cannot have the wisdom, you cannot have the knowledge because you haven't found the love, philosophy, lover of wisdom. You can't take the shortcut, and I can just see that. Now, Weinstein here is an arrogant prick. There's really no other way to describe it. For good reason, is in his opinion. He values his time so much that he can only talk to people that are brilliant in their discipline. But education for the last 100 years has been so siloed that ability to rise up in any one discipline takes so much focus and effort that there's no possible way for you to be brilliant in one system and understand how that system interworks in all the other systems. Now, as a polymath, Mr. Weinstein, and I might be saying his name wrong. I'm sorry, brother. I just want to say that. I think it's yeah, I don't know. Weinstein or yeah, whatever. I don't really care. Uh, he believes he's so brilliant he should only be able to talk to other people that are as brilliant as him and these polys, as you call it, that have come up through the educational system. Now, what Weinstein could never fathom to understand, or even his mind is probably opening up to it, I think, is that there are people way smarter than him that are so smart they're not allowed to talk to him. And I don't think anybody's ever smacked him with that because of his ego, because he has such respect for this institution of Harvard that he came up in, where the most important things are done, not recognizing that anybody that's truly brilliant has been picked up and placed in a secret box that you don't know about a long time ago, because we would know if you were onto anything smart, Eric. We've got our eyes on everything, Eric. We're going to let you chase your tail around trying to make Harvard into the elite establishment it once represented to a society and to education and to academic excellence. I love Eric. I consider Eric a friend. Eric has taught me many lessons. But the fact that Eric thinks that I have nothing to teach him is exactly why he is so close-minded and he's not able to see clearly that we do have things wrong. And what is the thing that you hold on to remind yourself that humans are stupid? We know nothing, and we could never know anything because we can never create anything as coherent as the pyramids. That is my top. In the movie Inception, when he spins that top, and whether it wobbles or doesn't wobble is what lets him know that he is in a dream or not. That is what the pyramids are for humanity. The brilliance and coherence inside of those structures, even in the sense that it is air conditioned. Let me dumb this down for you. I could tell you how the perimeter, if you add up all of the area, it equals the speed of light and the slope angles, how important they are, and all of the mathematical equations inside of the king's chamber, inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, and how they predict not only the past and our future, but the matrix with which we all constantly go around in, which is why past and future are the same. I could do all of that. But there are people better at it than me, so why would I fumble around fucking that up? Let me explain to you people, you dummies out there like me, a couple of reasons you should care about the pyramids and why they are smarter than us and why we're never going to be able to figure that out. Do you know how hot it is in the Sahara Desert? I don't. It's very, very hot. I hear people tell me about it all the time. They have dust storms. They barely have any rain in Egypt. I know that to be a fact. And inside those pyramids, it is a cool 68 degrees at all times. In all locations inside the inner chamber of that pyramid, always 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's hot outside. Doesn't matter whether it's cold. Doesn't matter whether it's sunny. Doesn't matter whether it's cloudy. Doesn't matter whether it's raining. Doesn't matter if the temperature actually in the desert dropped from, 100 degrees down to 32 degrees. Still 68 degrees inside the chambers of the pyramid. Pretty crazy, right? How about this? The height of the pyramids is the average height of all of the peaks and valleys on planet Earth. Now, you might have heard Billy Carson describe that he does a lot better job than I. How would you determine the average of all of the peaks and valleys on Earth. You would have to scan the planet from a satellite and then make it that height exactly. Now, iPhone 13 was pretty good. I mean, the Tesla, it almost drives itself. Not quite, but it almost does. I can talk to people around the world in an instant. Fame can be found overnight. So can fortune by going viral on the internet. But we are never going to be able to keep one house 68 degrees forever. We're just not going to be able to do it because there are different levels of intellect. All right. There are people that are so brilliant that it doesn't make sense. It's not fair to other people, right? Just like when you see LeBron James dunk a basketball, there are many humans on earth that could practice their entire lives, eat, have the best food and nutrition and exercise and diet, and they can focus on it, but they're never going to dunk like LeBron James. You have to understand that intelligence is also like that, but why? And does it have to be? Eric tells you it absolutely has to be like that. I'm a little more open-minded. So is Terrence Howard. So their discussion, as interesting as it was, as I found it, I don't think it's going to be something that everybody in America sits down for 4 hours and tunes into. But it is indicative that this moment in time, where we have someone from the old system, the old pattern, Eric, as open, as closed-minded as he is, living inside of those siloed structures, and as arrogant as he is, even though he tries, you can tell he's trying to stop being such an arrogant prick. He makes comments about it. He's aware of himself, and self-awareness is incredibly important for growth and change. And Terrence is certainly open to the idea. So you have the old and the new, and they're getting together right now. This conversation that they're having may not be important, or it may not even be watched or observed or picked up on until they do it for a third or fourth time. And new people get brought into the discussion. And there is something learned that leads us towards a new pattern that may not be Eric's, it may not be Terrence's, it may be some combination of the two. It may be Joe's, closed-minded Joe Rogan's. But when we look back on it, we were going to say, oh my God, that was crazy. 2024, all the nonsense that was going on with Donald Trump and Joe Biden and that election, who knows where it's going to end up. But Eric Weinstein and Terrence Howard were beginning the discussions that led us where? When we get there, that is what is going to give the context to this moment that we're talking about right here on The Universe According to Mugsy on July 15th, 2024. That podcast went away like a fart in the fucking wind to some people. But my buddy Jamal on Twitter, Seeking Gnosis, I should pull up his actual Twitter so I can plug him. Let's see. Bear with me, people that are listening. Jamal at... What the fuck is that, buddy? What's that look like? _ SEEKINGGNOSIS _ Seeking Gnosis. Jamal and I were getting into the discussion on how important this is, the Eric and Terrence conversation. And he was helpful to me as we were starting this podcast, because at the beginning of it, we found some people that were clued into some stuff, people that I thought were doing the same thing that I was. They call themselves mediums and spirit people, and I love what they do. And maybe I am a little bit like them. But Jamal's out here really explaining in depth the conversations that a lot of the mathematics, a lot of the science, a lot of the psychology, a lot of the interwovenness of the poly system that we were talking about before, that is what Jamal is trying to explain to everybody on the internet. And he's got his own thing going as well. Maybe I'm a little bit like him as well. But my guess is I'm an amalgamation of all of these people that I find out there. So along my way, I want to do my best to try and reach out to them, and take a second to appreciate the people that are enjoying the moment that we are in and that have gratitude for it, because it is incredibly special to be able to have discussions with people who are into the same stuff that you are, no matter what it is and where you're headed. I happen to think this is a particularly important discussion because of where it takes us as a civilization, as a society, as a culture, right? But maybe I'm wrong. If I'm correct, I have a feeling people like Jamal and myself are going to run into each other quite a bit out there in the world trying to figure out these things, because there's only so many things that the smartest people in the world are working on. Honestly, when you think about it, boil that down. There are only so many things that the smartest people in the world are talking about, thinking about, and trying to solve. What are they trying to do? You know? Who's going to be the smartest person in the world? Who's going to be one of those smart people? I don't know. So I got to try and talk to them all, right? That's one thing me and Rogan got in common, is that curiosity. Rogan used to have that fire. Now he's a closed-minded motherfucker. That's why. So I got to keep talking that shit to him. Now, all right, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That's the culture section of this podcast. That culture that we are trying to co-create. We all get our own opinion. It is truly, what do they call it when you don't have a democracy, not a tyranny, but you rip anarchy? It's truly anarchy. Who the smartest person in the world is true anarchy. We all get to decide. That is our culture, true. Our culture gets to decide, do we want to watch Kim Kardashian all day long? It's up to us. Is that what you want to talk about? Or is there anything maybe more prescient about the moment that we're in, about where we want to see our society head towards, right? Is there anywhere maybe we would like to go that's more important than some of the things that we're talking about? And that brings me to my rant on tickets. Did we lose service here? I gotta make sure. Hold on. I gotta pause. Pause it. And we're back. I don't know how that, I don't know if that worked or it didn't work, but I guess we're gonna find out in post. So anyways, what I was saying, the culture's moving in a certain direction, right? And it is agnostic. No, whatever. We all get to decide which direction we move in. And the direction that I cannot stand is these goddamn parking tickets for the city of Boston. I was in Boston the other night. What a fucking night. Is there anywhere to park in Boston for free? I'm serious. This is just out of curiosity. Because if you guys haven't noticed, we are getting robbed everywhere we go. I live 10 miles, 8 to 10 miles outside of Boston. Big city. You might have heard of it. I would love to drive into that city. How much is that going to cost you? What are they going to hit you for the toll before you even get in there? Now, I drove to the Boston Public Garden. All right? Normally, there's a garage underneath the Boston Common. So the Boston Public Garden and the Boston Common, there's a street that runs through it. I think it's called Charles Street. So I was lucky enough to get street parking on Charles Street. Whoa, it's your lucky day. Now, 6:30 on a Saturday night. I would not think ever in a million years that there would be a parking attendant that is going to be ticketing at 6:30 on a Saturday. Are you kidding me? Now, naive and ignorant? Sure. Absolutely. No question about it. Um, Now, if I had parked my car and there was a meter there, I might have looked for a sign, but there was no meter there. Why is there no meter there? Because on Charles Street, what they did was they put a bike lane in between the public parking and the sidewalk. So normally where the parking meters are, right where you park your fucking car, it's about 15 to 20 feet away. All right? Now, I get it. It's still my fault. It's my fault. I get it. I'm accepting responsibility. But what I'm saying is, it's a fucking trap. It's a trap. Everything about it is mafioso-like. It's a gang. It's a club, and we are not in it, and I'm trying to tell people that. Because here I am thinking it's my lucky day, and I park in the street parking, go walk around the free city, and then I come back and I got a ticket. All right. Don't let it ruin your day, right? It's a ticket. It happens. It happens. And I didn't. Thank God I didn't. I just enjoyed the rest of my day, went about my life. But when I went to pay that ticket, man, a week later, it was just infuriating. All of that fury comes back because now I got to look into this ticket. And now I got to sit down with a calm mind and pay it. This robbery. I already got robbed. You robbed me at the toll on the way in, allegedly to pay for the streets and the roads that you don't even take care of in the first place. So I don't even know why I'm believing you anymore. But irregardless of that, whatever, you go to pay. Now, there's a couple different options for you to pay. You can pay online where they tell you they're going to hit you for 2.75%. 2.75% of a payment processing fee. And that's a lot. I'm not saying it's going to break the bank. Turned out to be $1.10 on a $40 parking ticket. But you guys really couldn't get a better deal on payment processing than that? Oh, it's starting to make sense. I didn't just get scammed. I'm still in a scam. I'm currently still getting scammed because I don't just have to pay you, the criminal. I got to pay all your buddies off too, right? It's not just protection from one thing. Well, now that you're in here, we got to get you over here. You got to pay this. You got to pay that. You got to make sure you slice off a piece for everybody involved. That's how the game works. It's how it used to work in organized crime. It's how it now works inside the government. Oh, would you look at that? They got rid of organized crime, and where did it end up? So now, here's another thing that really gets you going too. I probably got away with $1 in free parking, right? $1 in free parking. What do they hit you with? What is normal punishment? If I were to murder somebody and I were to face a jury of my own peers, and let's say I lived in Massachusetts where there's no death penalty, my guess is normally, unless it was extreme circumstances, they would find me guilty with one count of life in prison. I would have to serve one lifetime because I committed one crime. I murdered one person that they caught me with. Maybe I murdered a couple, but they only caught me on one, so they only gave me one lifetime. Maybe it was a gruesome, crazy murder. Maybe it was somebody I really shouldn't have murdered, like somebody special. I don't even want to say I don't want to give anything there. But let's say it was somebody I really shouldn't have murdered and I murdered him in a crazy bad way. Maybe they'll give me 2 life sentences, 3, 4, 5 life sentences. So what I did was I got away with $1 in free parking. What was my punishment for that? 40 times my crime. $40 fine. That's insane. Especially considering there is no free public parking in Boston. There might be some, but who the fuck knows where it is? The only people that would be parking at metered parking, or presumably the people that are most apt to try and find metered parking because of their financial limitations or poor people. So now you are hitting poor people with an outsized fine. What about Pfizer? I don't know if you know about this, but Pfizer is the most fined pharmaceutical company in the entire world, right? The pharmaceutical industry is the most fined in the world. Now, when they make a product that kills hundreds of millions of people or millions of people, thousands of people, whoever, whatever it was, take a look at all of the fines that these pharmaceutical companies have agreed to pay over the years. They make billions of dollars in profit. What's their fine? Small percentages of that $1 billion. Now, if we were to look at this as incentives, I am very incentivized to make sure that I pay that parking meter or suffer 40 times. Let's say it was $2, 20 times, $3, whatever. Several times the punishment than if I were a corporation and I murdered people. That's a fascinating society that we live in today, a culture that we have created and accepted. It's just interesting when you put it in perspective and you start seeing these patterns that are arising, because that wasn't the worst part. At the bottom of that online payment, I do have the option to pay by phone. Now, why do you think they're reminding me about that at the bottom? Because I have just found out about the 275% additional payment processing fee for a credit card. So now I'm thinking, well, I'll call on the phone and I'll avoid that. But they have you cornered. Go ahead, call the phone. We process our credit card payments the same way. So now it's 275 on a phone payment for the credit card as well. You can be sure to come into our office. It is located on the tallest building at the top floor in the smallest room that we have in a building that has no elevators. So feel free to use the stairs. We're open Monday from 8 to 9 a.m. And that's about it. And you can avoid that charge. Now, I could mail it. That would require me to go down to the post office, purchase a stamp, as well as a money order, because you can't put cash in the mail. So no matter what, that $40 is not where it stops. It requires more from me. I have to pay off somebody else you know. Do I have to pay off your credit card processor? Do I have to pay off your post office? Do I have to pay off somebody that processes your money orders like a Western Union or something? All of these are services that you're requiring me to pay in order to resolve my fine. This, to me, sir, seems unconstitutional on its face. Now, I am not naive enough to believe that this is going to be something that changes. But it's one man's experience trying to drive into Boston and avoid paying for a parking garage only to get slammed several times over with having to pay more and more and more. It's just interesting when you look at it. And oh, it's infuriating. I understand how people wrap themselves up in it. You know, I know people that get scammed and they spend hours and hours and hours trying to right a wrong that was committed against them, instead of taking that time to think about the pattern that they exist in, the reality, the culture that they co-create, what they've accepted. Spend some time thinking about that. Thinking about new patterns that can emerge, because God damn it, I could not stand that ticket. I'm poor. I tell you exactly how poor I am, right? I don't have a job. I work all the time. All the time I work. All right? Presumably for you guys to explain all of this to you. I find that that's the most important thing that I could be doing in my life at this moment. So why would I be doing anything else? People think I'm smart, apparently. That's how smart I am. Sometimes you need to sit down and find coherence, even if it's just within yourself, before you can even start to think about dissecting any of the things that are going on in the world around you, because you don't have a clue. I know I don't. I know exactly how much of a clue I have. I know nothing. It is so much easier to go through life saying that, knowing that, and not the bullshit way that everybody else says it, right? I'm talking about living it. I'm talking about fucking living it. Do that for a decade. And then call me on the telephone. Tell me what you know. I will know in the tone of your voice when you tell me whether you believe it or you don't, because honesty can just be seen. You know when someone's lying. You may not be able to hear it on the telephone. You may not be paying attention 100% of the time, but when you're fucking paying attention and you want to know the answer, you know if someone's lying to you. Sometimes you don't want to know. Sometimes you love when people lie to you. I do too, right? How's my ass look in these jeans? Sometimes I'm looking for a lie. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not lying to yourself. That's what this all boils down to. There's a lot of Americans out there right now that are lying to themselves. There's a lot of people that think they are going to understand politics because they think they saw something on TV. Reality is never on TV. Never is. The whole story is never going to be on the cover of the Boston Globe or the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. They're never going to put it on 60 Minutes. It's not going to be on ABC. It's not going to be on CNN or Fox News. Reality's outside. Reality is what you create. Reality is what you exist in. It's the consciousness that you exist in. It's the consciousness that is shared, the collective consciousness. And Mr. Weinstein, that's how you can learn any information you want outside of any system you want. That's how I know there are other ways to receive information. Eric spent all his time trying to learn it. I spent all of my time trying to understand it, receive it, be thankful for it, and humble myself before it. That is why I can stand here before you and explain these things to you, in hopes that it gives you one monicum, one tiny little bit of the happiness that I feel within my life every day. The relaxed nature that I go about the world with. I want you to have everything that I have. If I could put it in a bottle and could sell it to you, I would. I swear to you, I would. I'd make it as cheap as I could and I'd sell it to you, but I can't do that. It's not how it works. You have to learn. You have to want to learn. You have to change. You have to want to change. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Only then can you start to understand, can you start to open your mind to the reality that is out there. Because if you're using your senses, they will deceive you, as I am 100% certain will be revealed later with this Donald Trump assassination. I don't know how. Attempted, alleged assassination. But I'm 100% sure we don't know the story yet. This was it was a good podcast. I think it was 3 aspects of 3 stories that are all relatable or will become relatable to you in your life. If not in this very moment right now, then certainly at a time in the future. I hope you enjoyed tuning into the universe according to Mugsy. If you were out there, let me know. Find me on Twitter, Instagram. Tune in. So that's what we're doing on Instagram, is the Breakheart Conscience Diary. You guys know there was one podcast recorded out there in the woods at Breakheart. I'm out there every day this summer. Come on out. Say hello. I'm working out. I'm running. I'm thinking. I'm working. I'm recording out there, and I'm doing a 1-minute video that I'm putting out on Instagram as the Breakheart Consciousness Diaries, with a little piece of whatever it was I was thinking about that day that's helping me connect the dots. Whatever is in the news or in the intellectual conversation, and I think it's going to resonate and may help people. That's what I'm doing on Instagram, so get on there. If you don't like any of this or you think you're smarter than me, talk some shit. You know I love it. You know I love it. I'm here for it. I've already called out the biggest names, and I've had conversations with them as well. Mr. Portnoy, Mr. Bet David, Mr. Ellsworth, Dr. Hardiman. Come on, guys. You know how this is going to end. I'm going to be on top, like I told you at the beginning of this. Close-minded Joe Rogan, political Dave Portnoy. These people will all be singing my praises, if not in the very near future, then one day. That's how quantum mechanics works. And I'm going to continue explaining it to you in 3 ways: current events, consciousness, and culture. In whatever order I feel like, on whatever time or day I feel like broadcasting to you guys, until you start asking some questions. All right? That's all I got for you today. Take back your consciousness. I love you. I'm out.